I got to take the time bomb. She wants 10 years. And I usually don't do balloons on sub twos that we take over. But the reason I'm willing to do it on this one, because I know.
You teach us all the cool tricks. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to have you on here today to talk about, you're really good at seller financing, sub two, all the creative stuff. You're really good at scaling, really good at closing. You're really good at all the stuff that everyone in our community needs to learn how to do. And part of the reason why I wanted you to have on here, though, and what I'd love to chat about real quick, is how incredible Steve's performance was on Closers Olympics. I saw you guys were watching. Did you expect it to go that well? Did you think he was going to crush it that well?
Steve's been with us for quite a while, and I don't want to sound arrogant, but I knew he was going to do well. He's really good under pressure, and he's just a cool character. He's actually right here. Yeah,
we got to bring Steve on.
How's it going, guys?
Steve, congratulations. We got to thank you for an incredible masterclass in dispositions. By the way, I was so impressed that right after you got off, I called Elijah and I said, tell me how much you want. I want to buy the recording of that to give to every single person on Investorlift. So guys, if you're on this call, give us a couple of days. We're going to be uploading the entire recording of Steve's performance, making, it was $67,500 in 45 minutes.
A little more, I think. That was the first one.
That was the first one. Oh, no. And then you do a second one. Steve, while we have you on here, can you give anyone any tips? If there's 3 insights on how to really crush it with Dispo, what are the 3 most important things to focus on in Dispo to be able to have a chance of replicating what you did there?
I think really understanding the type of deal that you have, number one, right? The type of deal that we had showcased a lot of what Investorlift can do. And it was because I know they were killer deals, right? So to be 100% transparent, I was able to do some things that I might not have been able to do if I had a not tight deal, like a worse deal, right?
Yeah.
So that for sure. One thing that you'll notice on like the replays and things like that, I never really tell, I actually think some other person did this too. I never really tell them yes or no until I get the final answer, right? So I position it in a way, it's about positioning, right? I call it building the narrative. So you build the narrative of the whole thing around the deal with the buyer to get the information that you need. Right. So the third thing is information is king, right? So the more information you can get from them that you can use to help you with the sale, exploit everything that you can to do that. Right. So I'd say it's those 3 things, right? Knowing your deal intimately, knowing what you have so that you know how to position yourself with the negotiation on that, the positioning of yourself, how to do that. And then the third one would be just the information from the buyer. Get as much information as you can so you can use it to know who to close and how to close them and when to.
Yeah, because, a lot of times what we're looking at is a lot of people just focus on the numbers, but we're focusing on what's going on with the people. So, for example, we know somebody, hey, we got to go. We already moved out. So it's a pressure point. We know somebody's losing the property. I think the ones in Beeville, the lady was getting foreclosed, right?
Yeah, she's getting foreclosed on.
So when you know those things, you can interact with these folks a little bit different. It also helps with price drops, but it also helps you position the deal when you're selling it. So you know how far you can push it. I'll give you a good example. Like today, Steve and I were having a conversation. And the good thing about it, guys, whether you have a Dispo team, is sometimes you're not going to see things from the same perspective. So we're working on this deal, and I went over there, Steve's no, but we're trying to find a way, even though we're saying no, we're just saying no to those options. And so today we're looking at a deal. We're like, hey, can we build a road? I don't know. But if we can actually build a road to this piece of land that we're looking at, we're going to reposition it inside Investorlift, push it back out again. And now the valuation with the potential of the road is an increase. So it's just not numbers, guys. You have to pay attention to what's going on with the people and the deal.
Well, then too, on the B-bill deals, right? Understanding what type of deal that you have. So that lady wanted her price and that's what she wanted. And she didn't care how we changed the contracts. Like she didn't care how much this house was for versus this one. I knew 2 of those houses were like kind of lemons. They weren't really that great. But if I can position it to where I can say, hey, man, I can give you these properties for 15 grand a piece and then stack the other on the more valuable one where you can still make money. It's like you sell these 2, dude, and you got a house free and clear. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's about that kind of stuff, like thinking outside the box as far as that goes and being able to position that to your buyers.
Yeah, but we can't do it without a good, strong tool, And so one of the things that we've been looking at is the analytics, as like what cities to target. The analytics on Investorlift is crazy, man. In 2022, the first quarter versus this year's, wow.
Completely different. Yeah, completely different.
A huge difference. You have to take that into a lot of folks are wondering, like, why am I losing people? Why am I not getting contracts? We have to adjust. Even here in the office, we've lost a few people, right? But a lot of it has to do with, not only the people themselves, but with what's going on in the market. You just have to adjust. As a matter of fact, I want to announce this. We are going to be shifting over to a more virtual disposition house with the power of Investorlift. Now, because we've always been acquisition heavy, we're going to make that transition. So we're working on that.
Incredible. And you guys have, if you guys miss Closures Olympics, they're Steve and Charles and their team, they do another event. There's only 2 events I sponsor each year. One is going to be Closures Olympics, which we just did for the first time this year. But the other one is your event, Wholesale Live. The first one was last year, and I think it was the best. It was my favorite real estate event I've ever been to. And the reason being is because it's not just some guru up on the stage telling you got to have more motivation and work harder. It was actually us actually doing deals. We had 600 people on the phones calling leads all at the same time. How many contracts came out of that last year?
17, right?
Yeah, I think so.
17 contracts.
Well, so we had 2 hours talk time the first day, 2 hours talk time the second day. And so for total assignments of 1.3, it's September 15th and 16th.
15th and 16th.
It's going to be at the largest hotel in San Antonio, the Marriott River Center. We are going to, for the elites that they want to network with the big players, we're going to be reserving the top of the Tower of America. We're going to reserve a private dinner up there. And then we are going to take everyone on Saturday to the most iconic Hispanic Mexican restaurant in San Antonio at the Market Square. And then I think Michael is planning to take over the largest nightclub, prestigious nightclub in San Antonio.
But love it. That's going to be a blast. I can't wait. We had a ton of fun. So guys, I'm going to be there. So if you guys want to hang out too, come hang out with us. Well, thanks so much, Steve. Really appreciate it. And Charles, let's dive in. Tell us, how long have you been doing real estate and how did you get into it? Okay.
I did tell my story at Wholesale Live for the first time.
Yeah, I remember.
Guys, I come from a very dark world. We all do. A lot of people have a story. Mine is just equally ugly. I was a product of my environment and it wasn't a nice one. I lost a lot of time, but somewhere along the way, it was very hard to do. I just took another turn and I decided to get educated. And by the way, a lot of people today say education is not worth it, but let me tell you something. For me, it was the cure to ignorance, And for me, education, whether you use anything that you learn at a university, if you never use it, the one thing you have to admit that you have learned how to be a learned individual. And you can figure out stuff, man. And it changed my whole world. And I ended up graduating from the University of Texas, San Antonio with a bachelor's in business and financing after serving 8 years in the penitentiary.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know that. But that's the truth. And I never talked about it. But when people ask me about it, I don't lie about it because that's my life. And now, having said that, I knew that I was not going to get licensed anywhere. And I got into mortgages and I ended up bringing value. And I dove into all the systems, Loan Prosperity, DO, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, USDA, all the loan products. I became a quasi de facto loan officer and I was just helping everyone close deals. And what ended up happening is a broker shop here in San Antonio was switching over to a mortgage bank and they said, we want him. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I think you need to know something. And they were like, we already know. We don't care. We want you to run it. And then another mortgage bank came and they were like, hey, we want you to open up an office here. We're like, I already have one. We don't care. We want you to open another one. And then I had a broker shop. Before I knew it, I had 3 mortgage, offices. And then the crash came.
Yeah.
And, I lost everything, guys. I never made $1 million before, but I had about $3 million and I lost it like that. I just didn't know how to hang on to it. And long story short, depression. I didn't stop working, but I stopped taking care of myself. I blew up to a big balloon. But I started HBHS in 2012. So what happened was that on November 2011, from having all this money, I had $700.
Wow.
700, guys. The IRS came in, they closed my account. It was crazy, man. I filed bankruptcy twice, 7, 13. I was losing it all. And I said, I got $700. I'm going to order C. And I named it Home Buying, Home Selling. And I knew my friend who was a broker who trusted me was a real estate broker. He had been a mortgage broker. I made a lot of money with him. And I said, can you sponsor my LLC? I know you can sponsor my LLC as a broker shop. And he said, yes, I'll do it. And so I had a real estate company. And by the end of January, I had about 30,000 and I was on my way.
Nice.
A few months later, I met Michael. He was dating my daughter. We became partners and we've grown this company here in San Antonio. 2017 or 18, be like, what the fuck are VAs and dialers and this and that? We didn't know that stuff. We're just grunting. But what happened is that we built this company through ups and downs. You know, we're not perfect. There's no blueprint that nobody gave us. We have sizable portfolios. I wanted to concentrate on that because I knew what happened during the crash. And, you know, we've had our downs. We've had our wins. But the key thing, guys, has been consistency. Consistency. Yeah. If you give up in the face of adversity, like, for example, I've lost 4 of my guys here in the last 3 months. Good guys that I trained. Yeah. But if you give up in the face of adversity, then you'll never know where you're going to end up. And I'm not the person who gives up. So as we learned, you know, wholesaling, credit financing, subject to, and all these different tactics, we had no money to start off with. We got very good at them. And it only grew. We just continue to learn and we continue to push. One of the main systems that we run here is Investorlift. And I just finished saying that we've made a decision here at HBHS because we've always been acquisition heavy, 20, 30 people. And we are making a shift. And that shift here in the next 6 months is to go more disposition heavy. So one thing that I'm really excited about that Robert's bringing to Investorlift, I believe, is the ability to list sub-twos, creative financing. And if we're really good at that stuff, what we want to do is position ourselves to be in a position to help folks that don't understand that. And then, of course, use Investorlift and or co-JV with folks to get these deals closed. So that's where we're going. It's not all perfect, but you guys understand if you're in real estate, that's how it is sometimes. You know, you can be up, you can be down. You got to stay consistent.
I love it. And I got something that you're going to love. When you post your properties now, you can now tag them for a deal type, apply tags when you do your posting. Buyers can also apply tags of what types of tags that they want. And now, officially, you can go search for sub-2, creative financing, seller financing, whatever you want.
Bro, you don't even know how powerful, forgive me, I know you know how powerful this is. But for me, when I saw this the other day, when you showed it to us, I was like, dude, I know how to create notes. The problem has always been when creating notes is when creating transactions, is who you're going to sell them to. Because it's cool you create them for yourself, but this is going to give everybody the power to be able to create transactions and sell those transactions on Investorlift to investors who maybe want to do what you want to do. They want your product, but they don't want to go do the work. Yeah. It's powerful, man.
Yeah. Now, I think that, over the last few years, if you guys have watched my content, I'm super heavy on just the traditional wholesale. Okay. Buy low, sell high, just trending. What Uncle Charles is a specialist on is doing those more creative deals, doing the notes, right? Like he's one, that's why when I was looking at, there's a multi-million-dollar property I was trying to pick up lakefront in Florida. And I'm like, I'm not picking this up cash. Too expensive, a few $1 million. I'm not rolling out a few $1 million on this. I call Uncle Charles to, talk about different, what's the best way to structure this? Now, what's interesting, if you look at the data, 60%, over 60% of all FHA mortgages were issued since COVID. And a lot of them are going to be underwater, which means when we get seller leads here over the next 2-3 years, we're going to have a lot of seller leads that are not deep enough for us to go the conventional wholesale model. But what's also beautiful, where this creates the perfect storm for us as investors, is what did we also have since COVID? The lowest mortgage rates in history. So what I think, and the reason why I've added this to Investorlift, is I want everyone to be able to jump on that and make millions of dollars off of it. So for people that are watching this, we got people that are doing $1 million a month in Investorlift, and we also got people that are doing their, a deal a month, a couple deals a month. But for anyone that's watching this and doesn't understand these deal structures, can you walk us through some of these deal structures, how they work, and then maybe explain to us where you think the opportunity is going to be here in the next couple of years?
Well, I'll talk about a live deal right now. So a lot of folks concentrate primarily on equity. Now, the problem with taking zero equity deals down is how do you make money at them? And the other issue is why would you even take, who do you sell them to? So I'll give you a good example. I have a lady right now here in San Antonio that bought a property, $476,000 in a neighborhood that's being gentrified, but it's not there yet. But she bought there because she's been sold on the concept that in 3 or 4 years, it's going to do this. It's going to turn much like the Mankey Park area of San Antonio or Divinity or Denver Heights that they've been gentrifying for the last 10 years. And I think that will happen. The problem is that the core area for that neighborhood that's going to sprout all the growth is the Lone Star Brewery, which is now the project's been ceased. So on one side of a major street called Flores, there's property 775, 650, great stuff. On her side, she is the comp. She can't sell. And the problem is that her husband just got a job in Austin. He's a firefighter. He got to go, and they're gone. She has a property that's FHA, 456,000. She's the comp. She can't sell. The other thing is an 1870 home that was remodeled. And guess what, guys? The people who did it did not fix the foundation. They went up and they didn't stabilize the foundation. They did some work to it, but they didn't add the extra pier. So she has a foundation issue. She has about a $25,000 foundation issue. So how do you make money at that? The house looks beautiful. She has a foundation issue. She has to disclose. Ain't nobody going to buy that thing. But you know what I'm going to do? What I said to her, I said, hey, I'll take the property subject to. I'll take the property subject to. She goes, well, I want it out of my name in short order. I said, no, I need it for 10 months. Excuse me, 10 years. I'll take the property subject to in 10 years. I already have the buyer who's an investor. Okay. You can't do this owner occupied. Who's an investor who I'm going to wrap this property to. I'm going to take $30,000.
Can you explain that real quick? Can you explain what your wrap is for anyone that has not familiar with wraps?
So her note is right here. Whatever term she has, I'm going to create another note on top, a wraparound. And the reason I'm going to sell to an C is so I can balloon them out. In other words, they got to take time off. Can't do that with somebody who wants to live in the home, an owner occupied.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get into a deal with an investor. I'm gonna sell that prop because the comps guys, believe it or not, can actually go up to 550. She just can't sell because this Lone Star Brewery project went down. Nobody wants to buy. I'm gonna sell to this investor at about 520. I'm gonna take 30 down, so I'm already gonna have equity. I'm selling to them at a 7.75. Okay. Now she doesn't have a beautiful rate, but she has like a 4.75. So I'm going to be making a little bit of money, but I got equity. But here's the thing, guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 30 down. I'm going to fix the foundation. Now we know I set up my buyer to sell this property. In 10 years, I will make monthly income on this property of about $450, $500 every single month for the next 10 years. And my equity's there. And get this, guys, as my payment on the underlying lien goes down faster than his, I'm still building equity in the deal. Now, let's say that I was to rent it, which I won't. I need that money to fix the foundation. As the balance goes down, the appreciation goes up. So I capture the appreciation and the balance, the equity from the balance going down. So there's a lot of ways to do this, guys. I could Airbnb it. The reason I won't Airbnb it, I need that 30 G's to fix that foundation because I got to take a time bomb. She wants 10 years. And I usually don't do balloons on sub 2s that we take over. But the reason I'm willing to do it on this one, because I know that Lone Star Brewery project is going to come back online. And then this property is going to shoot up in value. So that's a little bit of a subject to, guys, with some creative sauce on it.
Love it.
And now I know that I can post some of that stuff on Investorlift.
We're going to blow it up. There's going to be millions of dollars earned doing deals like this. We had the King Dispo closer. And a guy who trained the King Dispo closer, top closer in the nation officially, holds the belt for the next 365 days. So we had Charles and Steve here today on the Dispo side of things. And next week, we have none other than RJ Bates, who, of course, has been holding the title of acquisition closer for the last, what has it been, like 3 years, I think? 3 years he's held that title? 2 years.
I think he should have won the first year also, but, you know, he definitely won these last 2 years. So
yeah. Yeah, you guys in Texas, you set the buyer high. We got both belts in Texas. We'll have to see if someone outside of Texas can take a shot at you Cowboys.
You know, it's active here in Texas. So it's going to go down here in San Antonio, guys, September 15th to 16th. You know, get your tickets now. It's going to be crazy. The venue's going to be out of this world. Depending, of course, even if you come GA, the parties are going to be fantastic. And then, of course, you come at a higher level. The private meetings, the private opportunities you'll have with really high-level individuals. It's going to be out of this world. I invite you to join up. If you guys want to come, what I'd like for you guys, find me on IG It's realunclecharles.com. Send me a DM. I'll give you a discount. Just tell me you were here on this meeting here on Investorlift, and I got you, man.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Charles, for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same place.